ना। तो मेरे दादाजी एक्सपायर्ड 1999 में। तो ऐसा था कि जब वो एक्सपायर करे, जैसे बता था मेरे दादाजी तो थे वो उनको फोटोग्राफी का बहुत ज़्यादा शौक था। तो मेरे को अब समझ में आ रहा है कि मेरे को क्यों वीडियोग्राफी और ये सब करने में मन है, क्योंकि इट ट्रिकल डाउन फ्रॉम माय दादाजी।
Sarthak, like my dad is very fond of, so I think that's where Sarthak gets
और
his.
मेरे दादाजी का ऐसा था कि मैं जब इस बार 2016 में जब इंडिया गया, ऐसा था कि जब मैं फ़ोटोज़ पापा ने मेरे को दादाजी का फ़ोटोज़ दिखाया, तो हर एक फ़ोटो मतलब एक तो उनका कलेक्शन अराउंड मोर देन 10,000 पिक्चर्स थे। पिक्चर्स फ्लिप कर करके कुछ होते गया। ऐसा था कि जब मेरे को पता नहीं है कौन है फ़ोटोज़ में, बट फ़ोटो को फ्लिप करो ना, मेरे दादाजी डिलीजेंटली लिखा है कि राइट से लेफ्ट कौन है, क्या डेट है, क्या ओकेजन है, कि उस सब ने कहा क्या किस लिए फ़ोटो खिंचाया गया है। तो उसके बाद से मेरे को ऐसा था कि जो भी मैं करूँगा आई विल ऑलवेज हैव समथिंग लाइक अ हॉल ऑफ फेम। तो इसलिए मैं पोलराइड रखता हूँ कि हर पॉडकास्ट के बाद इट विल बी हॉल ऑफ फेम, प्रॉब्ली लाइक 50th एपिसोड और 25th एपिसोड में आई विल मेक अ स्मॉल रील ऑफ ऑल द पीपल हु हैव ऑलरेडी कम एंड उनके साथ मैं वो दिखाता हूँ। तो what's up people, welcome to Golan's Garage, a place where we talk about facts and feelings. Today is an episode where we talk about facts. Feelings hoengi, meri hoengi, but the guest that I have, she is one of the best realtors in the Seattle market right now, and I happened to stumble upon a profile that she ended up messaging me saying that she wanted to come on the podcast, and she's so talented. She's been in the industry for a very long time, and when I spoke to her right before this interview, right, I knew that this is going to be one of the best episodes ever. So without further ado, Miss Simmi Kher. Yay! Sorry, Mrs. Simmi Kher. Yay! Mrs. Simmi Kher. Yay! Hello, auntie. कैसे हो आप?
बहुत अच्छे, थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी, यू नो इट्स माय प्लेजर।
आंटी बता रहा हूँ, मैं बहुत टाइम से रियल एस्टेट का पॉडकास्ट करना आता था, जस्ट बिकॉज आई डोंट नो वेदर यू नो दिस अबाउट और नॉट। गोलन्स गराज इज माई विजन इज़ कि ये वन स्टॉप शॉप हो कि कोई भी बंदा या बंदी अगर उन्हें किसी भी चीज़ की इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए ना, और 1 घंटा उनके पास सिर्फ टाइम है, वो मेरे पॉडकास्ट में आए, पॉडकास्ट में क्लिक करें जो भी उनको जानना है और वो वहाँ से इन्फॉर्मेशन लेके जाएं। बिकॉज ग्रोइंग अप व्हेन आई रियलाइज इज कि आपको कुछ भी इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए होता है ना, कोई भी आपको फ्री में नहीं बांटता है। आपको किसी चीज़ के लिए भी पूछना होता है, आप बार बार पूछोगे ना, तब जाके देयर इज़ अ चांस दैट यू माइट गेट टू नो अबाउट समथिंग। फॉर एग्जांपल फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी, मेरे घर में ऐसा था कि इट वॉज अ टैबू स्पीकिंग अबाउट स्टॉक्स एंड ऑल। पापा मम्मी बोलते थे अरे स्टॉक मार्केट में घुसोगे चांसेस आर पूरा पैसा डुबा बैठोगे। US
I think that's how we all grew up with the stock, you know. Moving to US changes your dimensions. Like, I remember as a youngster when I was newly married and I wasn't doing anything, I loved reading the stock magazines. My husband is always interested in stocks. And there used to be these contests, you know, just prediction of your stock. And I won so many of those prizes.
Wow.
And I was like, this is what I want to do. But it wasn't something that anyone supported.
And this is back in India or in the US?
This is back in India, 1991.
Oh, wow.
That's when I got married.
That's amazing. Wait, 1991 was when I was born. That's
exactly.
amazing.
Like, I got married then.
That's amazing. So, auntie, like before I get into the real estate journey and educate everyone, literally everyone about what real estate is, why they should be investing in it, let's say I'm a person who is very interested in getting into real estate, right? And I want to educate everyone who wants to start buying houses. First question for you: why should people get into real estate, especially people who are new into the industry? Why should they be putting money into real estate? What is the benefit that real estate gives that other financial assets or other financial liabilities don't give?
And when you're talking about real estate, it's more like from an investment purpose.
Either investment or staying purpose, like both.
Like as a property owner, not as a profession.
Yes. Not as a profession, as a person who wants to buy a property.
I think real estate always pays, right? Even when we were little, when I was young, I remember like I would hear my grandfather say that real estate, if you invest in real estate, it really gives you a lot of money. The only difference between, I think the biggest difference I feel between stocks and real estate is that stock sometimes is a short term, right? You get a lot of money initially. Mm-hmm. You're able to earn a lot if the stock goes up, and you know, I keep hearing all my Amazon clients and Microsoft, the stock is real estate. You need to have the capacity to hold.
Okay.
And if you have that capacity to hold real estate, it always pays well. I always believe when my clients ask me, is it the right time to buy? And I tell them, today is the right time to buy. But if you don't buy today, the day you buy is the right time to buy. And it's always a deal.
Oh, really? So is it... Okay, so coming back to this question, right? I have been hearing a lot that okay, market crash is going to happen in the housing sector, right? Because right now house prices are super inflated, and since for the purpose of the conversation, since we are in Seattle region right now, let's take Washington for example, right? Right now, house prices are at a place where, and I can understand why house prices are super high because obviously the amount of people that there are and the amount of land there is, like there's a discrepancy in that, and the land is decreasing with time, right? So obviously the land price, it's the classic demand supply problem.
Exactly.
Right, I understand that, but since the house prices are way over what the actual value is, why wouldn't a market crash in a place like Seattle happen? Because there's something which I hear that maybe a market crash can happen in other places, but it won't happen in big key areas like SF or Seattle or New York. Why is that the case?
The reason for that is because there are lot of people moving to the Seattle area.
Okay.
Also, we have such a short, like the difference between the supply and the demand is so huge. We are so short on supply.
Like how short are we talking about, specifically in Seattle area?
Let's talk about just the King County.
Okay.
And these are, I didn't prepare these stats, but I was on a webinar today and I listened to these stats. The number of people moving to the Seattle area is, we need 92 homes per day.
Built every day.
For the amount of population movement. And this is from the census. If you go to the census of US, you should be able to get that data.
No wonder like why it's such a competitive market, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if a person, suppose that is a very convincing argument for why a person should buy a house, because everyone should have a piece of land in the place that they're living in, and they should be having a shelter where they can like
exactly
give their families, their kids, whatever, a house over the roof, right? Now coming to the point, how do I get started? Like what is the first step for a person in US in Seattle area, right? How do they, like if I'm interested in a house, how do I get started? Like what's the first step? Like how do I find a real estate agent, and what are the other processes involved? Can you just like lay in
I think
timeline wise?
The moment you think you want to buy a house or you're ready to invest, or even if you want to explore the possibility of buying a house, the first thing you need to do is find a real estate agent or a broker who can educate you on what a real estate cycle would look like.
Okay, so how do I find a person who can educate me?
Find me.
Obviously. But other than that, like since you can also have like you cannot have like millions of people reaching out to you, right? Because you also have a handful of time. So how can a person vet a real estate agent whether they are qualified?
Ask qualifying questions to
like
them.
What?
Like questions like how long have they been doing real estate?
Okay.
What's their success rate?
Okay.
You know,
what is the success rate? Like how many bids have they put and like how many have they turned into an offer?
That's also true. Like, for my clients, most of the time we don't end up doing more than 2 or 3 offers.
Oh, okay.
And there's so many of my clients who get the house in the first offer, and they're like, when they come to me, they're like, we didn't expect it. We were told we are going to put 20 offers and only then we'll get. But then also, you make sure that your real estate agent has a process that they follow. Okay. They also understand the market. Understanding the market, I think, is the key today. A lot of real estate agents don't understand the market, and they just go by what their clients tell. Like I get so many phone calls. I think I work with less number of people than the number of people that I don't end up working.
Wait, really?
Because they are not realistic.
Okay.
Everyone wants a deal, and like I said, anything you buy today is going to be a deal 2 years later. Because
it's going to be appreciated, right? No matter what happens.
It's going to appreciate. But at that moment, that human psyche kicks in and is like, we are overpaying, and how much are you overpaying? You're always paying the market value.
Really? Like sometimes... But isn't the case like sometimes the selling price might be way higher than what the actual cost is? How does a person...
How do you determine the actual cost?
That is what I was going to ask you, right? How do you determine the actual cost?
You can't. See, in real estate, I would always say there could be an appraised value that your lender appraises it for. There could be an assessed value that the county assesses it for your property taxes purpose. But the client or the buyer that's buying a property is always paying the market value. That means there is another buyer willing to pay that much or more. And the buyer who's willing to pay the most ends up getting the house. And I think that's where it is very important for a real estate agent to educate their clients on what they're getting into. Like, I never go out and show a home to any client until and unless I've had a hour and a half or sometimes 2 hours long buyer's consultation with them
Mm-hmm.
for them to really understand what it means to be a buyer in this market. And I do the same for sellers. If they're selling the home, I need to prepare them what the market looks like.
Okay.
And again, I have that and I believe that having that consultation and preparing them to what they're getting into is the key factor of success that Simmi Real Estate has seen.
Okay. So from this, right? So say suppose I come to you right now, right? I ask you, I am interested in buying a house. You educate me with the thing that, hey, this is the amount of time that you have to look into market. And if I have some non-negotiables, right? For example, I need a 3-bedroom house, I need a 4-bedroom house, or I just need a 2-bedroom house, but I need a backyard. Say I come up with a list of non-negotiables, right? From talking to you about a list of non-negotiables, how does the search process begin, and how does the money transaction process begin? Because right now what I've seen in real estate is no one pays the entire amount of the house, and it's not advisable, because why do you want to pay when you can like borrow money at a cheaper rate,
Exactly.
which is less than inflation or less than the money that can grow over time?
It's way less than the inflation.
Right?
7% interest rates are
Exact-
like 2.7, 3% right
So
now.
now comes my second question. How does a person get into the process of borrowing money, lending money, or how should he decide, or how should he or she decide how much money should they put into the house? Should it be 20%, 25%, 10%, or 5%? What are the factors that determine these?
I think so getting back to your first question is how to decide on where to borrow the money and how to work. If you're able to identify your right real estate agent, that agent should be able to handhold you for everything.
Oh, really? So that's the key element, right? Finding the real estate
Finding
agent.
the right agent is the key element, and I think that's, if you're able to find that, you'll have a super nice experience.
Okay.
And there are many nice real estate agents in the state of Washington. You just need to find who's going to be good. So once you've found your agent, that's like when I get a phone call, like, Simmi, we want to work with you, I do ask them some qualifying questions like what areas are you looking at, what's your budget like, and on the phone I'm able to tell if they're going to be realistic or not. And sometimes they're not, but I can see, I think having an education background, I'm very
Practical
it's
about
easy
things.
for me to understand what they're thinking.
Okay.
You're always able to read your students' minds.
That's true.
And I taught computer science to 12th standard for
Oh, wow.
quite some years.
So this is the place where you can be the elder figure for all the people who are here. Itself.
Exactly. Haven't you seen my videos? You
I
should
have.
see. They're like, Simmi auntie.
I'm posting a couple of links of the videos that are going to be here, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely follow her.
So, once they call me, and then every time before they come for that buyer's consultation, I give them a homework. I'm like,
Okay.
you have to do 2 things for me before you come to me. You have to make a list of what are your wants and what are your needs.
Okay. What is the
Ne-
difference between wants and needs?
Needs is something that you absolutely want,
Okay.
right? That's non-negotiable.
Okay.
Wants are like good to have, ye bhi ho
Okay.
jaye, wo bhi ho jaye. All those.
Oh, that list can like keep growing on.
Yeah,
maybe-
so but I want the absolute need,
Okay.
without which it's a deal breaker.
Okay.
And I want you to be very thorough in thinking through them.
Okay.
Not just like, I want a shiny bathroom, I want a shiny kitchen, but I want 4 bedrooms. That's not your need. Your needs are probably 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom at the max, depending
Correct.
on what you want.
Correct.
It's good to have 4, but 3 should work. And then the second thing is like decide your budget.
Okay.
Like, this is my extreme that I'm going to spend no matter what.
And how do you decide that?
I think that's a very personal question, right?
Okay.
How much finance do you want to really put into real estate?
Okay.
If it was me, I would put everything into real estate just because that's my background. I enjoy real estate. Having said that, my husband invests in stock too. It's not that as a family we just have only real estate properties or anything.
So say let's take a use case. Say suppose I earn $100,000, right? For this particular use case, who earns $100,000 and has been saving for around 2 or 3 years, maybe they have saved up to around $60 or $70, $80,000. Let's say that. Okay. For that, what is the budget that they should fix for themselves? Because as $100,000, I'd love to have $1 million house or a $2 million house, right? But sometimes finances cannot afford it. So how does the calculation happen? And
I
how
think
do
that's a very personal calculation, because
Okay.
you might be earning X amount of, like, when my clients come to me, most of them I know can qualify probably for a 2 million home too.
Okay.
Right? Amazon, every company gives you stock, and you
Correct.
have, and some people don't want to sell the stock. Absolutely under no circumstance.
Correct.
And some are willing to sell the stock. So, your budget can change at that point.
So how do you decide? Like, for example, this you said X. Is there a multiplier that you should put on?
I think that's a personal choice.
That's totally a personal choice.
That's a
So a
personal
person who's
choice.
like earning $100,000 can also afford a $2 million house, or no?
I don't think so.
No, right?
So, once you get to your real estate agent, your agent should be able to suggest a couple of lenders for you to speak to.
Okay.
And then when you discuss your financial situation with a lender, they should be able to, tell you what your debt to income ratio is going to be and what you can qualify for. So that's one thing. What you can qualify for. The second would be, do you really want to spend that much?
What do you mean qualify for? What is this
Say,
qualification?
you're saying someone earns 100,000. The debt to income ratio can be 43% of your income.
Okay.
So can you then you qualify for like 430K or something like that, right? So that's what you can qualify. That's what the bank would be willing to give you loan for.
Okay, that's like the risk aversity that they can like
exactly
play into.
So that's definitely your lender can help you with what you can qualify for.
Okay.
There's a formula there.
Okay.
Right,
So,
if you're taking a jumbo loan, or you're taking a different kind of loans too. Yeah, maybe next one should be a mortgage officer.
Yes. So first is finding the best real estate agent, because once you find the best real estate agent, they can direct you to the lender person who can lend you money, and that particular lender can actually let you what your bucket of lending value is. How much can you lend and how much can you afford as a house, right?
Yeah.
So having this strong fundamental neve, right, which you say like the foundation, having that foundation is super important. From there you can get a lender, right? Now let me switch to ethics of this, right? As a person who's buying a house, right, should they look for multiple real estate agents? Should they work with only one? And what is the ethics that come into this picture? And like, what are some laws governing around this? Can you
So I think there are not many laws governing this. Yes, there is a buyer's agreement that a buyer can sign with their agent.
Okay.
I do get buyer's agency laws agreements signed. From
and what does that mean? That means that a particular buyer is bound to one real estate agent?
Yes, and if they end up working with someone else, they still own a commission to the first agent.
That's amazing. That's a safety for the real estate agent, so that they're not like
exactly. I think if you feel a client is not or let's just go a little back and say, if you do start working with a real estate agent and you find you're not actually clicking with a real estate, because everyone finds their own tribe. There are people that
What do you mean tribe?
Tribe is like you find your own kind.
Okay,
There are clients that I have all this, do the buyer's consult and everything. And then somewhere down the line, I'm not enjoying the process.
Okay.
And I have told them, I don't think we are a right fit for each other.
Okay.
Let's part ways amicably.
Correct.
That's a much better way to do if you feel your agent is not understanding you.
That's the mature way of doing things, right? Rather than like being salty about it.
I have had clients who just go dark.
Wait, really?
Completely dark. And that's non-ethical, I think.
Uh-huh.
So, as a team, right, we are 3 people in Simmi Real Estate. So it's me, the team lead, and then we have 2 more agents that are part of the Simmi Real Estate brand. And we only take limited amount of clients at a time. And I'm very, very serious about that. I would not take more than our capacity, because for me it's very important anyone who works with us gets that class of service which is non-comparable to anybody else, and they remember us for that.
Correct.
Because right now 80% of my business is referral.
Okay.
And you don't build a referral brand if you're not providing service.
Quality of service, yeah.
And you're not also providing value to them.
Exactly. It's all about value addition. If you're not adding value to an entity's life, then
exactly.
It's
so
useless.
It speaks volumes about my clients and our service, and I don't compromise on that. So I know agents will work with 20 clients single-handedly. They don't give enough time to their clients.
Correct.
We
and
don't
that's like a SAR experience.
Exactly. So yes, you can change your real estate agent if it's not working, but I would say don't
Use multiple.
work with 2 or 3 agents. It's not ethical.
So that's understood. So you should only work with one. What about lenders? Can you, because lending as a concept, right? A person who lends money is essentially a bank. For example, it can be a private lender or a public lender or an official bank, something that can lend you money, right? And depending on what the capacity, what the competition is, the rates can differ and the amount of money that they can lend can also differ, right? So considering that we can only have one real estate agent, can we shop for multiple lenders and see who gives you the best rate at what possible value? Or is there ethics in that as well, that okay, you should only stick to one?
I think I won't speak much on the ethics part of a mortgage consultant. I'm not a mortgage consultant. I know the real estate rules and regulation, but just as a human being, I feel if you're shopping around for rates, shop before you start working with someone.
Okay.
It's okay to, you can interview several real estate agents also.
Correct.
You can call 5 real estate agents and see who you're going to gel with and who will be a right fit for you, and then stick to it. Similarly with a lender, there are mortgage consultants who get paid by spending time with you. And if you spend months and months with them and then you move on to another because you're getting a little difference in your interest rate, I think that's where your own upbringing and your own ethics come in.
That makes sense. Okay, so considering that we have locked down one real estate agent, this is the first step in the process. The second step in the process is finding a lender who can lend you money. And you can shop around, you can interview, you can see who gives the best rate. But once you lock down, that's the person you work with, right? After these 2 prerequisites have been done, now comes a time where you have the ability that, okay, you can shop around and look around for houses. How do you recommend people looking for areas that they want to buy in? And once the wants and needs, as you mentioned, right? Once that has been clarified, how do you advise people to start looking around? Like, what apps do you want? Like, do you recommend people? How do you recommend people going and looking into houses and making sure that's the house that they want for? What has been your process, and what have you seen has worked up until right now for the last 5 years?
Yeah, so I think there are 3 things in any real estate transaction. There's the price of the property.
Okay.
There's the location of the property, and there's the layout of the home, which means there are 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, the way it flows and all that.
So price, location, and layout.
Yeah.
Okay.
You never get all 3. Whatever your budget is.
So, okay,
you
that's
do end up compromising. If you increase your budget, then you want a better layout, you want more bedrooms.
Okay.
Or you want a better location. You're like, yeah, I'll increase it to 600K, but I want Bellevue. I don't want some Amish now. You always end up doing that. So one of the 3 will always get compromised.
Okay.
So that's one thing you'll need to decide right in the beginning what you're going to do.
Okay.
And that's what the buyer's consultation is for. Once we've narrowed down, I always work with my clients and say, let's classify our areas as A, the area that we absolutely want to buy.
Okay.
The area is B, and then the area is C.
Okay.
If we don't get in A and B in the first month or month and a half, then we move to area C.
Okay.
But we are not going to keep looking in A, B, and C right from the beginning.
Okay.
Because then what you're doing is you're looking at area C, you're looking at a house, but you want it in area A.
Like in what sense?
Say, you want a 4-bedroom home. And you look in, say, Snohomish is your area C. And you look at that home sticks in your mind, but you want Bellevue. And then you keep looking for that same price point in Bellevue because you've already seen that home in Snohomish.
Okay, makes sense.
So if your areas are Bellevue first, then let's look at what Bellevue will get you in your price range.
Correct. You have to change the variables and fine tune it in a way where it actually adjusts with the area as well.
So it's always like plan A, plan B, plan C.
Okay.
And I have that for my everything in my life is like I have plan A, plan B, plan C.
That's amazing.
So we are always clear on what we are going to look in, and if we don't find in this area, we're going to switch to that area. So my clients are prepared to do that. I don't have to tell them that, this is what we are going to do. Otherwise you can keep looking for 6 years.
Correct.
And still not find and this is a personal example. You learn as you grow.
Correct.
I met a client that in my very first year, And it actually took them 5 years to
To
buy.
find a house? Wow. Were they like super choosy, or were they
No,
picky, or like what happened with them?
They were,
Or were
it
they not
wasn't like
educated?
they weren't looking. Never used to do this, education in the beginning. Like I never had this buyer consultations. If a client would call, I would show up and show home. That's how most of the agents do.
Okay.
They don't spend as much time educating. And I met them. They called me, and I met them. Their budget was pretty much same
Okay.
from day one to day.
1500.
Yeah. Whatever. They had a good budget.
Okay.
Their location kept changing according to the
okay.
budget.
Makes
But we
sense.
finally ended up buying. They never left me.
That's amazing. Good for them. Like super happy for them. So so once the plan A, B, C has been logged, right? Ideally, not ideally. What is the average amount of time that a person, when they start looking to finding their house, what's the average time that you've seen in your career in the last 5 years as a real
I
estate?
think for my clients, I would say my average would be about 3 weeks to 4 weeks.
3 weeks to 4 weeks, right?
Most of my clients end up finding home in the first
And
month.
this is 3 weeks after the consultation that you've had, or after the
after they've
pre-approval and
had the
everything?
pre-approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Once we step into the into the field looking at homes.
Okay, so one more question that I have, and this is something which I experienced a couple of days ago, right? Many people say that, like, there are conflicting reviews on this, because I've also been trying to educate myself on real estate, and some people say you should not be getting pre-approved and you should start searching your houses. That's one train of thought. Start searching for houses, and once you find a house, then get pre-approved and then put an offer. And the second train of thought is get pre-approved first and then start searching for the house and then put an offer, right? What is the pros and cons of both of these things, especially in the market that we are right now, in Seattle market, right? And which one would you prefer and why? Because I have a counter argument that I would place after what you've said.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, you need to get pre-approved before you start saying. There are several reasons for that. One, you need to know what you can qualify for, what your monthly installment could look like. If you're planning, it'll be very approximate. The rate of interest does not get locked in till you have a property under contract.
Correct.
But you do know what the interest rate could be. I've had cases where, my clients are, and there are some, right now, I don't think I work with any client who's not pre-approved.
Okay.
We do get pre-approved first, and just because the time is so much of essence, you see the home now. There have been times I've sat inside the house and written an offer, or written the offer in my car.
Oh, wow.
Because we need to put the offer in the next hour or so. If you're not pre-approved, you can't do that.
Okay.
But otherwise, also I've had clients where they think they'll qualify. Their credit score is 800, and when we get them, where they get pinged for when they get pinged for the credit score for their loan, I had a case where it came out to be 630.
Oh, because again, the credit score is also an amalgamation of like multiple things, right? Not just the bank score.
They were shocked because their FICO score that they could see was like 760 or something. But what happened was they forgot, like he just forgot to pay one payment for one credit card, and he did not have many line of credit. So he only had 2 lines of credit. And if you don't pay one,
that's a big hit. That makes sense. Oh, okay.
And now he was not eligible to buy for until the credit went up. And so if you don't do that, you're not, like, in today's competitive market, you can't afford not to be pre-approved and not know your numbers.
Okay. So the reason I wanted to ask you this was, right now you have been successful in a way where the pre-approval window is usually 3 months or 6 months, right? Depending on what the lender is. And you have been successful in a way where all your clients after the consultation have found a house on an average of 3 to 4 weeks, right? But what happens in the worst case? If, say, suppose let's take the case of the person who did not find a house for 2 or 3 years, right? For them, the pre-approval has to happen in 2 years, right? At least 6 times.
So I think when I say when people take so long to buy a house, nobody looks for 2 years constantly, right? They look for a couple of months, then they sleep down, and then they wake up again. Like, I haven't had a client who's looked for homes continuously for like I've had one who looked for 8 months.
So in that case, right, in 8 months, right, that will be like,
get them pre-approved 3 times.
That will be 3 credit score hits
but
on
your
them.
But your credit goes up. It's a one ding.
Okay, so
It's
that's not that big of a deal, but
no,
getting pre-approved is a bigger deal because what can happen is you can miss out on offers.
exactly. You can miss out
Okay.
on offers. You don't know if you're actually ready to buy. In your mind, you are right. But if you don't qualify, and also to know your budget exactly what you can qualify for in this market is so important.
That's totally, I totally support that. But here is another thing. Do you know about better.com? Like either better something. They were in controversies right now when the CEO fired like 35 of the employees and then took $35 million as their bonus for December, right? So what I was reading was that you can have something like an online approval, and many people, I don't know whether this is a scam or this is an actual thing that people do and whether this is ethical or not. Again, we can maybe talk about ethics, but what people do is people go to a website which can give them an online pre-approval just to put an offer, and while the offer is being created, which again is a window of around like a week or so, right? And you can correct me on this, then what they end up doing is in that particular window of time they go to their lender, get pre-approved, and then they put the money in. Is that ethical? Is that wrong? What are some pros and
I
cons
don't
about
know. I think you have your stats wrong.
that? Maybe I'm
somewhere,
not. Yeah, it'll be amazing if you correct me. Yeah.
When you put in an offer,
Uh-huh.
you get the results for that offer within like few hours.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Or maybe maximum a day. Like you put your offer today and it expires tomorrow, and by tomorrow you know whether you have got an offer or not. If you're really competing in the market, and I do a lot of work on the east side, right? So
Correct,
I'm in
yeah.
a very competitive market.
Correct.
You have 23 offers on a home,
Mm-hmm.
and you have an offer from, I don't want to name any online company.
Yeah,
but
I'll also bleep it. I'm not going to like defame someone, but
yeah,
continue.
but if you have a online pre-approval where you have not had a hard credit hit,
Uh-huh.
it's based on what you put in, right?
Correct.
Do you think the listing agent or the seller is going to accept your offer over the other 23 offers where the people are pre-approved, they're ready to waive, they're underwritten? Like, just a pre-approval is not even enough in today's Seattle market.
So coming
People
back to
get
this point.
underwritten also, which means they have had 2 rounds of underwriter look at their documents and they are ready to close in 10-15 days instead of 30 days.
So now education time. What is an underwritten, and like what are the things that are happened? And from a seller's perspective, right? For me to be the best buyer as possible, right? I want to understand and be empathetic toward what happens on the other side. So from a seller's perspective, what happens? How do they evaluate offers and which offers do they put in? Like how does that system work? Can you educate people on that
So
as well?
I think it all depends on, seller is the final decision maker on selling of their home.
So seller, like for example, the property owner,
The property owner.
not the agent.
Not
They
the
don't-
agent is an
okay.
advisor.
Okay.
Whether it's a buyer's agent or a seller's agent.
Okay.
You know, we are advisors. Even like my buyers will listen to me, and I
Correct.
always will tell them. But at the end of it, I always tell them the final choice is yours.
Okay.
And it's same when I'm representing a seller.
Okay.
I will guide them. I will qualify every offer. So when I'm a listing agent, let's just take that example. When I'm a listing agent, I get 10 offers on my home. I will arrange each offer. I'll see the communication of each agent. I'll see their pre-approvals. I want to speak to every lender to make sure that this loan is going to close.
Okay.
At what stage are they? If the lender is proactive and gives me a call, that's much appreciated. When you're going through 10 offers, you want, if somebody is proactive and is reaching out to you,
Correct.
that holds a lot. I think a lot of times I just win offers because of my communication.
Oh wow, that's
Because I'm
amazing.
so, I think, and as a, it's just like, that's my personality. It's like I'm a giver. And I want everyone to feel happy, and I want everyone to be at ease and comfortable what they are doing.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
I make people very comfortable. And that's what I do when in my real estate also. You know, I make my buyers very comfortable. I make my sellers very comfortable. I make the other counterpart of mine, the other agent, very comfortable. And once they decide, there are several factors that the seller and the listing agent can decide and say, you know, like this seems to be the best offer, and let's go ahead with it.
Okay, so advisory happens from the agent perspective, but the final choice is from the seller or the buyer.
I'll
right?
give you an example.
Yes, I'd love to hear it, Kapil.
I won't give you the specifics of the area, but this was an offer that one of my clients won recently.
Mm-hmm.
The home was priced at 1.3 million.
Okay.
We went up to 1.6 million on
Wow.
it.
Okay.
We had an escalation clause, and the next offer to us was at somewhere around 1.57.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up getting the home for 1.578.
Okay.
And just because of my communication skills with the agent, with the
Mhm.
seller, we kept talking to each other, and they got the home at 1.7 something, let's say that. In the meantime, when the seller said yes to us, they ended up getting another offer, which went up to 1.7 million.
Okay. So they said no to you?
No, they didn't. We
They
got
didn't?
the house.
Oh wow. So
And that was because the seller was convinced I am so proactive that I will be with my client throughout.
okay. So
And the
communication
deal
plays
will
a big part.
close.
So that plays a very big part in like the entire home
So it's
process,
not like
right?
we were not the highest offer.
Okay. So sometimes that can also like be a
And I've
be a
had
factor.
several such cases.
Oh, wow, that's-
Several such cases.
I did not
like,
know about that because like from a seller's perspective, if I am a seller, like if I'm selling a house, for me one of the most important criteria will be who pays more. Like I'm thinking from a very short point of view, right?
Exactly.
But that's an eye opener.
But you
for me.
want the deal to close. And I'll give you another example. You know, I do a lot of research on the seller and the agent.
Uh-huh.
And if you're a good negotiator, you want everyone happy in the deal.
Correct.
How do you negotiate? As you make sure that every party feels they are the winners.
Exactly.
That's the only way for good negotiations,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's what Chris Voss says. Like,
Exactly.
if you negotiate, every party should feel
If
as a
everyone
winner.
wins, you win as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
And this was a home that my clients were buying. It got listed on the market on the same, like we went and saw it on the same day. Like I remember the home coming on the market at 8. I called my client and I said, the home is there. Let's go and see it now. And it's like, I have meetings. And I was like, no, I don't care. So to cut the long story short, they came to the home. We looked at it. They wanted to do a pre-inspection and didn't have an inspection report. We did a pre-inspection while still being in the home.
Okay, so this is something that I'm going to come to, right?
Yeah.
But before that, let me come to the money value addition, right? The percentages, right? When people say they put in 5%, 10%, 20%, 25%, what is the reasoning for each and every percentage, and why do people differ on percentages? And what
Down payment?
on down payments, right? When a buyer like me wants to buy a house, right? Sometimes it doesn't make financial sense for me to put down 20%, 25%. What should be my variable points or thinking points for me to decide on the number?
Matters.
It doesn't matter at all. But then, from a seller's perspective, right? When you're evaluating
The
offers,
seller gets the entire money at closing. Whether it doesn't
okay.
matter. So if you do it putting 20% or 10%, it doesn't.
so it's not
That's
in
your
value.
personal choice.
Oh, okay. I always thought that maybe if I put 20% down, my offer might get picked up. So
No.
that's a myth busting, right?
That's a myth.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I
because-
have had so many of my clients win offers with 5% and competing. Like I've won with cash offers also. Whether there's a cash offer, and my client was at 5%.
So that's like one of the biggest myths that I
Usually
had.
there is this conception in the market that if it's a cash offer, then it'll win over the a financed offer.
Correct.
Which in some cases can be true because a cash offer will not have an appraisal. So there's no point of appraisal coming in play there.
Okay.
And also a cash offer can close in 7 to 10 days.
Oh, okay.
So if the seller really wants to sell in a hurry, then they can. But I have won offers against cash offers just because my offers were strong and rightly worded, and there was a
So it's all about the
built.
agent and relationship.
It's
built.
all it's a
not the money.
relationship world.
Oh,
I think
okay.
any profession is a
Industry.
relationship based. As humans we are relationship based.
That
But real
makes a
estate
lot of
I think
sense.
is even more.
So say suppose I as a person, right? I found a real estate agent. I found my lending broker, right? I liked the house. I made my plan A, plan B, plan C. I put an offer, X amount. Let's put it that way, right? After putting in the offers, what are some post-offers things that a buyer needs to do? And there are not a lot of education around it, right? Because some people miss out on something, and after getting into the house, they realize that, okay, maybe I missed on something. And maybe the real estate agent could have educated them. But what are the key things that a buyer must be doing post offer that has to work like for them and that can be beneficial for them as well?
I think in today's market, if we just look at the market today where we are
Correct.
not having as many contingencies as we traditionally had in
Uh-huh.
real estate.
Uh-huh.
You know, if you had a traditional market where you could do an inspection, then doing the inspection and making sure you're asking for the fixes of the inspection is very important.
Okay.
And again, there your negotiation skills come. I've had clients where I've had got so much done for them and now they're on the verge of buying their second home, and I'm telling them now you can't ask anything because you can't do inspection.
Wait, really? So
Yeah.
right now inspection, like the pre-inspection thing has already gone from this area, or
You can.
Okay.
The law allows you.
Okay.
The market doesn't allow you if you want to be a
Oh.
winner.
Okay.
So you have to be strategic, and believe me, even though every transaction looks the same, every transaction is unique and different.
Oh wow! I did not know
The
this.
strategy behind every transaction is different. So it depends on if you have your contingencies, and the first thing that you need to do is make sure that each contingency is met
Okay.
at the right time, because time is of essence in the whole contract.
So how do you create contingencies? Like, is that again something which is dependent on buyer and the agent, or is it something? There are standard contingencies that you should be following.
Traditionally, there were standard contingencies
Okay.
available, like you could do the inspection contingency, you could do the neighborhood contingency, you could do appraisal contingencies,
Mm-hmm.
financial contingencies. Right now, the market that's been there for last 18 months maybe, it's very hard to have any contingencies on the offer.
Okay.
Still, I've had some where we've kept the financial. We've also done inspections in this 18 months. I won't say I haven't done any.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as your contingencies are there, you need to make sure that they're followed up on time and they're met on time. If a response needs to be sent to the seller, it's sent on time. And also you work with your lender to make sure you get pre-approved and the loan closes.
Makes
That
sense.
becomes the most important one.
Okay, so once
Once you
these
get
things
into-
are done, then a person can be in very like, so what I understood and took from this conversation is, if your foundation of finding a real estate agent is amazing, each and everything can be super seamless.
Exactly.
And that's amazing. I first want to know about your story, right? How and when did you move to US? Where were you in India? How did your attraction towards investment or real estate come about? If you can like summarize the entire thing in a gist, or like give us some insight, that'll be amazing.
Yeah, well, I moved to US in 2013.
Okay.
Moving to US in your older age, not as young, young
old
20s.
old is very subjective, ma'am. Please, as someone
Or let's say moving to US later in your life.
Uh-huh.
And it was, I think, one of the most toughest moves that we made.
Mm-hmm.
And probably we did not plan it well enough, that as much as we should have, but it was like, we'll wing it. But it was moving from, and I used to be in New Delhi.
Okay.
So moving from New Delhi, being a national figure, like being on stage at least 120 days in a year,
Mm-hmm.
from that profile, moving as an immigrant to US with no job,
Wait, really?
because when you move I had a green card. I did not have a job. None of the family members had a job,
Okay.
because you're moving as an immigrant. You're not moving because of your job profile.
Uh-huh.
So, and then my daughter was in college. My husband went back to college. And at that point, you had to support your family. And my younger son, who was still in high school, was getting ready to go to college.
Okay.
And then you're figuring out, what do you want to do? And I have an education background.
Uh-huh. What's your background? Can you just like let people
So
know?
I'm a qualified engineer.
Okay. like literally every brown person in Seattle, but yeah.
So I did electrical engineering and got married in the final year. I did complete my engineering. So it's not.
That's
And
amazing.
then at some point after both the kids, I went ahead and did my MCA.
Uh-huh.
So moving to Seattle, it was by default taken that you're moving to a tech hub, you're going to get back to technology. And that
Correct.
was not something I did want to do.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
What
I
did you do
just-
back in Delhi then?
I was in education field for
Oh,
20
wow.
years before I moved. And
So were you a teacher or?
I was the teacher trainer for a long time.
wow.
I was a principal of a school for
wow.
some time. I had a school for underprivileged
Oh wow, that's
that
super
I set
amazing.
up. So it was all education related. And then finally I set up my education consultancy.
Okay.
And that's where I was, so I got invited to speak all over Asia and India. And from that high profile job move to US where nobody knew you and figure out what you want. And I have been doing a lot of trainings in social equity, tolerance, and that, and Seattle was not ready for that.
Okay, yeah, that in 2013, right?
No,
Totally,
it wasn't ready.
wasn't,
So
yeah.
that was my first company I formed,
Okay.
and it failed miserably.
Like here in Seattle.
In Seattle.
Like-
I did get some work with some school districts. I
Uh-huh.
did some teacher trainings with Mercer Island School. I was doing a lot of global competence trainings.
Okay.
So my training profiles were very different, not computer related.
So why do you think like your trainings or education background worked back in India but not in Seattle? Like, is there a difference in how people approach education here?
I
or-
think one of the biggest struggles that I faced when I moved to Seattle was every time I would apply for a job profile,
Mhm.
I would get called. I would be in the top 2 or 3 candidates they would select. But the moment I went for an interview and they asked me, how long have you been there? And I would say 4 months, 6 months.
Okay.
I was told, oh, you don't understand US life. And I was like, no, that's not true because I'd worked globally in so many countries.
Correct.
But I think that's a myth. And especially in the education world, like tech industry, everyone has accepted that you're going to move from another country and you can settle very quickly.
Correct.
But the education industry did not, So I did work in a school for some time as a program supervisor, again, setting up a school. And that was my background. And then we bought our first home in 2015.
Awesome. So you bought everything from your savings here in Seattle or from savings back in India that
We
you
sold a home in India.
Oh wow.
And bought our first home here. So it was
Okay.
2 transactions at the same time, selling your home in India,
Uh-huh.
buying a home here, very raw, did not understand the real estate market.
Uh-huh.
A lot of our expectations were what happens in India happens here too. Seattle is a rising market. You have to pay over asking and all. We did all that. But
Okay.
our transaction ran into lots of hiccups.
Like really? Like
So something that closes in a Seattle market in 25 days or 30 days, we took 3.5 months to close.
Really? Wow.
And
so
yeah.
okay, so was that the reason why you ended
Yeah.
up like becoming a real
So
like getting into real
during
estate?
our own transaction, because our realtor would not answer the questions that I would ask. I'm a very curious person by nature. Like I
Correct.
need to know.
Ditto.
And-
High five on that. Like ditto. Like I'm so curious. Yeah.
Right now, like crypto is everything. So I need to know everything on crypto. And everyone makes fun of me. It's like, why do you want to know everything on
That's so
crypto?
wrong. Everyone should know about
So,
it.
and so I was very curious. And when we had reached about 2 months mark, and it was still, we didn't know when the transaction was going to close. In 2015, we had paid 50,000 earnest money
Wow.
for
okay.
a 400K
House,
townhome,
which is like okay, wow.
which
that's-
was way beyond what we should have paid
Uh-huh.
and made it non-refundable. So we were going to lose that earnest money, and I did not want to lose
What?
it.
Okay, so I'm going to like make a point on that. What is earnest money?
Yeah,
which
and
we'll
we can
go
talk about
that.
it.
But okay, so from that experience, when did you get into real estate? Like
So
that?
at the 2-month mark, I
Uh-huh.
walked into a real estate office and I said, what does it need to become a real estate agent? And that person was like, come on, sit down. And I sat in his office for like 2 hours.
Okay.
And he was like, tell me your background. And I was like, I think you'll be a great real estate agent. And I was like, yeah, but what do I need to do? So he gave me a website link and he said, if you go to rockwell.com, you should be able to enroll for your real estate license.
Okay.
And I enrolled that night.
And how long does it take for you to from enrolling to getting an actual
It
license?
depends. It's a 90-hour course. So you do it in a week, you do it in a month.
Oh, it's a course.
Yeah.
So is it like you have to read some things, you have to give an exam, and if you
Yeah.
pass?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know. I thought it's something like very simple, like driving license. If
No.
you drive, you sell your house, just
No.
you'll get. Okay, so
So
there's
you
a course.
have to be a licensed real estate agent
Okay.
in state of Washington.
Okay, so this is 2015 when you got this.
This is
license?
2015
Okay.
December when I enrolled for my real estate
Uh-huh.
license, and then the house closed and we moved. I think our house closed in January. And then we moved into the house, so settled house, and I finally got my license in May.
Okay.
Of
So
2000.
2015 to 2022 right now, right?
Yeah.
How has your journey been so far in the real estate market? Like how many like what is the best thing that you've seen in real estate, being a real estate broker or an agent? Like, okay, what is the correct terminology? Is it a real estate broker or an agent?
So in state of Washington, a real estate agent is a real estate broker too,
Okay.
but there are some states where broker is different from a salesperson.
So let me start.
So it's a broker.
So let me start you warming you up by asking the first question. What is the difference between an agent, a real estate agent, a real estate broker, or any? Are there any other entities that are involved in real estate when a person like me who has no idea about real estate gets into the real estate business? Like, what are some other terminologies that there are?
I think when you get into real estate business in state of, let's just focus on the state of Washington.
Sure, yeah,
since
definitely.
we remain here. You get your real estate license, and which is a broker license,
Okay.
which is used as, some people call it as real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want to call yourself a realtor, then you need to be part of the National Realtor Association, NAR.
Okay. So for that you have to give another course and another examination.
You have to pay your fees every year to be
okay.
part of. So you can only be a realtor if you're part of the NAR, otherwise not.
Okay. So what is the difference? Like, what added benefits does it come being a realtor than a real estate agent?
I think it's one of the biggest things that I feel when you're a realtor is you're supposed to take an ethics class every 2 years.
Okay.
And that's important because
ethics, like customer ethics or like business ethics?
both.
Okay.
Ethics in real estate.
Ethics in real estate.
Because it's so important to be ethical, and it's a trade where a lot of people are not, and that's how it's looked upon also,
Okay.
A lot of people don't think of real estate agents as someone who's highly qualified. This is funny because when I got into real estate, I think for the first 2 years, I had to tell every client of mine that, I'm as qualified as them. So I'm an engineer too. Because most of my clients...
do people look down upon real estate agents? I don't think so.
I don't know. That's the feeling I got when I got into real estate.
Okay.
It's like, what do you need to do? You need to... Like, I was told by a few people that all you need to do is just do a 90-hour course and then you get into real estate.
Wow. Okay.
I think that's just the course to learn real estate. You learn on the field.
Okay.
And you bring a lot of skills from your background, right? From my previous life, I think I'm really proud of my negotiation skills.
Okay.
Because I think I negotiate really well and I get the home my clients want.
Okay.
And I get a lot of money from my sellers. But my negotiation skills come from because I used to negotiate with ministries of education for a long time.
Oh wow!
And
So
those are
everything was
high level
transferable.
negotiations, right?
Yeah.
You have to have skills for that.
Correct. That's amazing. So I can like totally now understand why this actually set up in a way where you were set up for success, not just like having skills which are transferable from your earlier job to now. And it was just like thing that you had to do, and like
It was. I think initially I got into it because I was kind
you
of
had a bad experience.
because of our bad experience with
Okay.
our buying of our home. But once I started exploring it, and it became like a calling. I was so happy with it. I was like, I remember I went to my dad and I was like, Papa, I know what I want to be. Because, for like, we moved in 2013, from 2013, 14, 15. I'd been searching on what to do. I tried so many things. I tried my teacher training classes. I did cooking classes.
Really? Okay, wow.
I did public speaking classes for students. I did anything and everything that I thought I could do.
So you're a born hustler and a born
I
woman.
am.
Oh, that's amazing, and
Yeah.
that is why the success that you have right now, right? It clearly shows, because I really feel that success comes from a couple of like fundamental pillars, and hustle is
Exactly.
one of those pillars. Like literally, see every person who's successful in the world right now, right? Hustle is a key element which brought them to the place that they are right now. So let me just like put a pin on that right now and let me start doing a role play. So for a person like me, right, who wants to get into real estate agent, and funnily enough, like the reason I want to get into real estate is, and this is something which my dad like laughs at a lot because from like before buying an actual real estate property in the real world, I ended up buying virtual real estate in metaverse, and my dad till date laughs about it. He's like how can a person do this, right? So what is the advice that you want to give to youngsters, to people who are in their mid careers, to people who in the old age as well, right, who want to buy homes? What is your key advice that you want to give them, and like in order for them to be getting into real estate? What is that one piece or like one nugget of something that always works for everyone?
I think you should buy your first real estate property as young as you can.
Really?
That's my sincere advice to
Uh-huh.
you. If you can buy it, like, I know I didn't buy a real estate here till I was in my late 40s,
Mm-hmm.
early 40s. But I did buy my first real estate in India, and my salary was like this tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I still went ahead and bought my first real estate property. And I know me and my husband sat down and he said, even if we use your entire salary, we won't be able to pay off it's a different system in India. You can buy a property and you can keep making the payments for a long time till you get the possession. It's very different from here, but we still bought our first real estate property when I was probably 25 or 26.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So buy as young as possible, right?
That's what I would say.
Awesome. So people, you heard it, right? Everyone who's listening to me, if you don't have a real estate agent, especially if you're in the Seattle area, you know who to hit up, Mrs. Simmi Kher, and buy as early as possible. But auntie, it was a pleasure having you. Like, the education that I got personally from this conversation was immense, and probably from this I'll be rightly going and like buying a house in the next I don't want to say like next month, but at least next 2 months, because I'm also like very picky in things. But thank you so much, Simmi auntie, for like coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You know where to follow Simmi auntie. This is her Instagram, this is her TikTok, this is her Facebook. And auntie, do you want to promote anything about you right now? Now's your time.
I would just say, choose the right real estate agent before you start working, and feel free to give me a call.
And her website, her real estate agent contacts are already mentioned here. Feel free to contact her on Instagram, on cell phone, or email, and she'll reply to you ASAP. Because I attest, like when I was talking to her replies used to come in a snap of a finger. But auntie, thank you so much for having for being on the show. This was, like, in my opinion, one of the most educational videos that I had, and I'm going to market this as crazy, and I'm going to snippet it out so that I get most number of views. But people, till next time, peace.